How can we utilize huge amount of data which CP networks every day collect? Hello, Christian. Today we will discuss about data in logistics, in postal, in CP companies. There are a lot of different data, operational data, customer data, which you can merge between customer data and operational data. And I found working with different postal operators, especially postal operators, on vast strategies. They always think how to use this data for some upsell, new products, data products. So we have data, and can we go with this data and do something else? And there are, of course, some legacy ideas like advertising. So there are a lot of advertising type of products which are based on data. So we understand the income on zip code, for example, or behaviors of the zip code for type of customers on specific zip code. And this is the quite common in especially in countries where direct marketing by mail was very popular and still popular. I heard about last nice ideas, I think from Bpost, maybe I'm wrong, about using the data from Street View. So they have a lot of delivery cars which every day go around the cities. So can easily use cameras and collect data of street view data and address based data, which can easily be sell as data for map companies or data for using, I don't know, for training autonomous vehicles, autonomous taxis. So this is something new. Old marketing type of data, well, something which is geospatial data for new services and products. What do you think postal and parcel companies can do with data?
Yeah, we can do a lot with data for sure, but I also see we can fail a lot with data. I think I should start first with the first example. And when you talked about direct mail, I think that there's an opportunity in direct mail which you have to remember before the direct mail is disappearing. Because I look at from my background in the Danish organization, we are not doing the letters anymore, which means that we are not doing any of the commercial that we stopped many years ago. But what we were very good at back then was actually to use those demographic data of the knowledge that we have and combine that with other data sources and do a profile of the consumers, the end consumers, in order to target that. I think that would be extremely valuable in the future. When we talk about the locker networks and we talk about end consumers' convenience, we talk about agentic AI on how we are end consumers are in the future probably going to use an agent to order the products on the internet. And we see that Amazon now has launched Rufus to help to buy on Amazon sites. But in the future, maybe you want to have your own agent, depending on the product, to help you find products with a price that is attractive, but with a delivery date which you don't really care about, because you just want to have the convenience of where you want to have a product delivered as the most important thing. So you have the mix between the product and what your convenience is. And there, the knowledge of having those data on where the end consumer's convenience needs are can make you a success, I believe, or you fail if you don't have that data. So yes, I think there are areas where they're really profitable. If I look into selling data from capturing on your vehicles on the road, I have only seen failed projects so far. I've been meeting with a lot of companies who had a brilliant idea saying, okay, fine, you're driving on all the streets. Yeah, but I've seen it fail all the time, and there's a couple of reasons for it. First one is business models that are thought through behind are not really thought through, because it turns out that the companies where they thought they could sell the data to, they're not really interested. It's I can give you an idea that we had 10 years back when it's probably 15 years back, time goes fast, where we were collecting data everywhere we put Bluetooth in our letterboxes and every point that we have in organization. We had all the vehicles running around in all of the streets of Denmark, and we could collect all this data about where we saw these BLE tags. We had an idea that we could have a product that we could sell to insurance companies, so they could, on their valuables, they could put a tag on, and we would go everywhere in the country and we would pick up that beacon and saying, okay, we've seen that product here. We actually did a very good success where somebody stole one of our post boxes, and we had a tag in it. And 4 hours later, we found it in a wood because one car drove by and picked up the beacon. And we said, okay, this is a brilliant idea. We contacted the insurance companies. It turned out the insurance company didn't want us to find the things. They live up fear. So you need to understand also the business on who's going to be the one that buys your data, because if you don't fear that your products are going to be stolen, are you then going to pay for your services or not? And I didn't think about that back then, but I think it's today it some reflection that I've thought about. It makes sense, and we've seen all these. Another thing that you have when you sell data to others. I can understand if you want to use the data yourself, because there you sit on a gold mine in trying to understand your own network, your own faults, your customers and how they act. But when you're trying to sell data, at some point it becomes your obligation. It becomes your obligation to drive on these roads and make sure that you're collecting these data. It could be that, yeah, no, we put a camera in front of the vehicle and we can give information to the road controls to see where they have damages in the road, or we could read the signs of the street view and see who's moving in and who's moving out of the shops and stuff like that. And we can pick up Wi-Fi signals, which is indicating a triangular model of density and stuff like that. You have all these ideas, but it means that in the end, your own process is not going to be the most important. You're going to have a complexity where you have promised to do other things than you actually should do in your core, and this is really conflicting what we have as our own business. You need to be extremely in control of your own business to start to open up for somebody to pick up some data. And what's going to happen the day when you don't need to drive in that road? Do you feel obligated to drive in a road where you're actually not making money on, just because you have an obligation to pick up the data? So I think it's a little bit and a double-edged sword here, that you need to have control over what you're selling and what you actually are your core business.
Now, there is some solution in the middle, where you collect data, but you use this data not for selling for the external products, but to creating the products for your customers, like shipment analytics, which may, I don't know, save some cost for your customers, for shippers. This is what the big carriers, international carriers, are very good in it, with a lot of tools for customers for
Mm.
analytics. If customers used to use such advanced tools for shipment analytics, it's much more difficult to switch to the low advanced carrier.
I agree, and this is also something that of course, that when you look at your own data, you get a lot of value that you can use. You could try to identify how much air is there in a parcel from a shipper, and if you get that idea about how much air you have in it, then you have a possibility to talk to them and say, okay, fine, we're both living of this. That if you make your parcels smaller, they will fit better in our portfolio of our network, and that means that you will have a better price. But it also means that you are getting far more sustainable, which is something we both can live up in from sustainability point. So I completely agree. But you need to find that balance where you need to have a good idea about what brings value to your end consumer, either the end consumer being from the sustainability point or whatever, or you also make sense from the shipper, that the shipper also makes money on it. I think that you can have these ideas where you maybe partner up with a packaging company in order to help consumers, well, customers, I would say shippers, in order to find the best type of packaging for your network. That's just an idea that gives you a possibility to use the data, where you can come with saying, okay, fine, we all experienced when we open a parcel and it's filled with air, and you have a small SIM card in the corner or whatever it is you order. And then you think about how smart was that? And the thing is that this is of course just an example of how we can bring value. I always found extremely important in creating, even when I was head of logistics, I was creating sales reports. Why do you think? Why do you do that? but I was collecting enormous amount of data on sizes of parcels, which varied from one area to another, the number of parcels that they were selling in one area compared to another area, in order to make sure that when you met the customers, you brought some value to the table, instead of just having, it could be return rates, it could be all these things, which you have an enormous amount of having a dialogue of making your sales meeting into a project meeting, instead of just meeting about the price, discussing 2 cents this way or that way. I think that we have tons of value that we could bring to the table in order to make a much more valuable proposition when we sit together with our shippers.
So the conclusion would be that there are so many ways how to use the data in the core business. Then maybe we recommend first to focus on all business and optimization of all business than to try to sell something new to the market.